Welcome to Ask Evette, and today we have a question. I have floaters in my eyes and I would love to learn more about them. Hi, my name is Evette Rose, author and founder of Metaphysical Anatomy, which is a book about 679 medical ailments, where I talk about the hidden psychosomatic messages behind ailments and stress that we hold in the body, that we all share universally. And today we're going to be discussing a question about floaters, which are like little object-like pockets of liquid that we have in parts of the eyes. Now, normally you would find this in the thick fluid or the gel that fills your eye. And as you can sometimes see them, especially when you stare at a spot for a long time, especially a white surface. Now, not everyone has them, and they can actually also develop at any point in time in your life, or you can actually be born with them. Now, let's for example say, in this question it wasn't clear if the person was actually born with it or not, or if it came later. So I will assume that it came later, but if this is something that you are born with, then you would be looking at the psychosomatic and emotional explanations that we will be covering here today of what mom, meaning your mom, while you were in the womb, could have been experiencing during the time when she was pregnant with you. Or it could also be emotional unresolved trauma and stress that your mom's mom experienced in her life. Because in metaphysical anatomy, in the research, we are very familiar with that, dominant trauma that's not been resolved in the DNA lineage. They tend to have this tendency to just repeat themselves every third generation. So if you don't find the answer with mom, then look at your maternal grandmother's life. So let's go back to saying that, let's say this is something now that happened in your life. So here's psychosomatically and the emotional hidden messages behind this. We're looking at something that maybe there's a need for you to avoid something in your life, right? Especially something that might have happened at a time when the floaters started, because normally we want to look at when did it start, what was happening in your life at the time. It could have been a very big, impactful, traumatic event, or remember that trauma could also take place over time, meaning you can have low-level stress that keeps going and going and going until the body hits its threshold for what it can deal with, and then it collapses. And it's in that moment where the body's just like, I can't deal with this anymore, this is enough. That is when the body can experience something as being traumatic, because the reason why the body is collapsing, whether it's physically, emotionally, or spiritually, is because the body has run out of energy and resources to cope with the stress that you have been under. The body just doesn't know how to relieve itself from this discomfort. It doesn't know how to reset all the stress hormonal cycles that's been going on and on and on, and the body is getting depleted. The body is feeling completely out of control, powerless, helpless, unsafe, or just completely unresourceful. So that can also be something that that's been going on over a period of time. And at the time when you started to notice the floaters, when it started to become problematic, that's when your body could have gone and just said, enough, I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like what I have to take in, what I have to absorb. This is too much for me. So in most cases, from my understanding, my observations and my research with this, it's normally a traumatic event, whether it happened over time or whether it happened quite recently, just before the floaters started. And so with this, when we start to bring these elements together, when we also now look at, okay, so maybe something happened there, whether it happened on that day or more so the buildup of that. When we look at the emotional stress and also like the psychosomatics of this, you might also feel yourself, that you probably have been in a bit of a pattern where you're struggling with the ability to stay focused and to also stay concentrated, because there was something in your life that was upsetting you. There was something in your life that was causing you a lot of emotional discomfort. And so it was much easier to distract yourself constantly with coping mechanisms, maybe self-sabotage, maybe some habits there that you can go like, okay, you're heading home, I get that. There's a lot of self-sabotage also coming in here, but of course it was with the intention to avoid what it is that you didn't want to feel at that time. There was a bit of a pattern of denial that was happening, and the body just had enough of trying to pretend that everything's okay when it actually wasn't okay. Now, coming back to the part where I also said, that it's hard for you to focus, it was hard for you to concentrate, and there's also, it means, that there's something in your life that you just didn't really want to fully take in. And you'd rather be distracted from it. You'd rather pretend that it's just not happening. Because sometimes it could be that it's someone that did something, or circumstances that took a turn for the worst, or a turn that was very unexpected to you. And it's like, I don't want to believe that someone could do that to me. I don't want to believe that my veil, my rose-colored sunglasses finally fell off my face, and now I'm seeing my life for the reality that it was, and it's not what I thought it was. What I'm actually seeing right now, what I'm really becoming aware of right now, I don't like it. Because floaters tend to come in when you have a huge reality check on what your life really is like. Maybe you've been coping in such a way where you haven't really been able to take in maybe it's the seriousness, or maybe the real consequences of how something has been affecting you over time, and you've been pretending that everything is okay, but then bam, the one thing just comes and it just shatters, completely shatters your reality, and just the way that you thought your life was set up to be. And it's a realization now of something that has happened or is happening, and you feel powerless to it. You feel like there's nothing that you can do about it. Or it could also be that something happened to someone else that had a huge impact on how you perceived your life to be as well. It could be that someone that you deeply loved also was influenced by something, and that ripple effect of that also had a huge impact on you, where it's like, I don't want to believe what I see. I don't want to think that someone could do something like that, or say something like that, or behave in a certain way. Because also remember here, and the reason why I say, someone, I feel normally what happens is the reality and the shock of this comes because it comes from an unexpected source. And normally when it's people that we care about, people that we love, or people that we would assume would be safe, or dynamics that we assume would be safe, and we feel comfortable with that, suddenly just takes a massive 180-degree turn. Now also keep in mind that when we look at the structures, these little objects that you can see in the eyes, sometimes what that also could be is protein cells as well. Now, what's interesting is that protein cells psychosomatically also means love. And now in this case, in the eyes, and looking at the association with trauma that could have taken place in your environment, there's something that you either loved or something that you thought you could love that has proven to you the opposite. So also keep that in mind, because it's in the eyes, it's about what we see, it's about what we take in from our environment. It's something that we perceive to be a certain way, and we were convinced that it is that way, until something else comes in and it just hits us. We just see, but what I thought it was, it just is not anymore. It could be that yes, what you saw in your life, in your environment was correct, but then a situation or a person changed. And of course that's going to have a complete radical change on how you perceive that person and how you feel that they fit into your life. It could also be that, you know, circumstances have changed. It could be that you moved to a different place. It could be that you changed jobs. It can be anything that kind of like rattled that safety foundation that you thought you had, but then something came along and just completely detangled that. So that was a really great question, and I do hope that that helps. And you can find out so much more in Metaphysical Anatomy. You can go to my app store, metaphysicalapp.com. Grab your copy there. There's so much more that I wrote about eyes and different issues that we can have with eyes as well, and the psychosomatics of that. So keep asking the great questions, guys, and until next time, be the light that you are. Hi guys, thank you for joining me, and remember to grab your copy of Metaphysical Anatomy on Amazon, 679 medical elements. And I also wrote about the psychosomatic root causes of that, and I'm spoiling it because I even added key points for you to start looking at important questions that you can ask yourself to start improving your quality of life. And also remember to catch me on Instagram, Evette Rose, 1 with the digit 1, and Metaphysical Anatomy on our Facebook fan page. Bye guys!